and our Vidant Spotlight, our Vidant Health Spotlight. And I'm happy to have back, I think she was with us last year about this time, Dr. Noelle Patterson.
Peterson.
It is Peterson, and I wrote Patterson.
Yeah.
I knew it was Peterson, and I wrote Patterson. Dr. Noelle Peterson, who is Director of Preventive Cardiology and Women's Cardiovascular Disease for the Eastern Carolina Heart Institute. She is a cardiologist with Eastern Cardiology here in Greenville. Good morning, Dr. Patterson. How are you?
Good morning, Henry. How are you?
Every time we hear about a heart attack death, like we heard with Judge Scalia this weekend, it's shocking news, but it happens all too often, doesn't it?
Yeah, actually, every 1 in 3 minutes, somebody will die from heart disease. So it's a very common occurrence. And a lot of times people think of heart disease as a man's disease, but it also affects women as well. Especially as women get older, our risk of heart disease actually equals a man. And once we reach about 70, it actually surpasses men.
Yeah.
And most people don't realize that and don't think of it
as
as
a men's disease. Yeah.
Right.
And this is Women's Heart Awareness Month, right?
That's correct.
Is that what they're calling it?
Yep.
Now we were just talking about this during the break. I remember last year talking. You are a cardiologist here in town, but you see men and women equally.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep. I see about equal numbers of both.
But I bet you're very popular with women because women love to have a female doctor, and so women who have heart problems, I bet you see a lot of those.
I do.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
women tend to present a little bit differently from men with respect to heart attacks. They don't tend to have the same symptoms that men do. They don't have that kind of clutching mid-sternal chest pain. They have more subtle things like jaw pain and shoulder pain.
Jaw pain?
Jaw pain.
Really?
Yep, very common.
Why does that happen? That's interesting.
No one really knows why, but women have smaller vessels than men and different hormonal fluctuations. So that's thought to be some of the reasons why they have different presentations. And a lot of times women will have more of like anxiety feelings or like flu symptoms. So sometimes it's a little bit harder for them to pick up that they're actually having a heart attack or a heart disease.
You know, my doctor talks to me all the time about family history being one of the big things. And, of course, I've got heart disease all through my family. I've made it to 62, knock on wood. Is it a big deal? Is that the big thing, is your family history?
We kind of say that the genetics loads the gun, but the environment pulls the trigger. So it is a big risk factor, but you're not doomed because you have a family history of heart disease. There are a lot of different things that you can do to modify your risk, like trying to eat healthy, getting adequate sleep, exercising, taking care of, if you have high blood pressure or cholesterol or diabetes, getting those risk factors under control.
My doctor recently was kind of going down the list of things. He was like, well, you got this, you got that, you got this, you got that. So your risk of heart attack is like 8.5%. And I was like, really? I don't want to know that. But I mean, can you really? I mean, you're at a point where we can pretty much, based on your history and your current health and those kind of things, it's a pretty good predictor, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you can plug numbers into the computer and kind of come up with an estimated risk.
Yeah.
For people.
Yeah. That's why I've been going to the gym every day, by the way, since he gave me those numbers. So how is a diagnosis of heart disease made? How do we know that we may have a high risk? Is there any way to know before it actually starts to affect us?
Well, just like you said, if you go and the key thing is going to see your doctor so that you can figure out where you are in the risk spectrum. But what you just said, where your doctor kind of goes through and looks at your risk factors, gives you some numbers, and then gives you recommendations on how to modify it. There's also a lot of different testing that we can do if someone's actually having symptoms that are suggestive of heart disease, and it just depends on what kind of symptoms they're having. But doing things like stress testing, or if people are having heart rhythm issues, heart monitors, ultrasounds of the heart to look for structural heart disease. So there's a lot of technology out there for us to make diagnoses and help prevent heart disease from happening, instead of waiting till somebody has a heart attack and then kind of going back and just doing treatment.
All right, we're talking, if you're just joining us, Dr. Noelle Peterson, who is a cardiologist here this morning. It's our Vidant Health Spotlight, trying to keep people healthy. Let's go through the things. We hear about them. Overweight, stress, all those things. Give us the menu of things that lead us to a heart attack.
Okay. Well, you hit on two of the big ones. Overweight is one of them. Stress is one. Physical inactivity is another big one. And then you have your traditional risk factors, your diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. One that a lot of people don't realize is some of the inflammatory conditions, some of the inflammatory arthritises, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis. Those are all risk factors that people don't think of a lot. And for women, if women had events during their pregnancies, like diabetes during pregnancy, high blood pressure during pregnancy, preeclampsia, that puts them at a higher risk for developing heart disease later on.
I take a baby aspirin every day. And now I think that most cardiologists think, is that true? Cardiologists now believe that taking an aspirin a day is a good thing?
It depends on your age and your sex.
What is that was going to be my question. What is the age where you should start taking an aspirin?
Usually for men, it's around 50 to 55. There's different guidelines, so there's kind of a range there.
And it should be a baby aspirin?
Yep, 81 milligrams.
Yeah.
Yep. And if you have heart disease, of course, you should be taking aspirin. If you have diabetes, you're considered higher risk, or it's a cardiac risk equivalent. If you've had a stroke, vascular disease, you should be on an aspirin. Now, for women, the guidelines are a little bit different because women, like I said earlier, have smaller blood vessels. So if you don't have any risk factors, women may not necessarily need an aspirin because their risk of bleeding from an aspirin is higher than the benefit from the aspirin.
Right.
So for women, I would definitely recommend to discuss it with your doctor based on your risk factors. So just that general kind of blanket statement that everybody should take an aspirin is not necessarily true.
All right, very good. How about, here's an interesting question. Once you've been diagnosed with heart disease, is it too late to start exercising and get, are you more at risk to have a heart attack if you start exercising at that point?
No, it's never too late to start exercising. Our goal with heart disease is to get people back to their normal level of functioning, how they were before they had the heart attack. With all the new technologies and stents and different valves and all the advances that have been made in cardiology, our goal is, to get people back to full functioning. So once you've had a heart attack, of course, we want to make sure that you're safe to go back. So I wouldn't just start back exercising without consulting with your doctor. But our goal is to get people through different modalities back to exercising. And one great thing that we have here and we have at Vidant is cardiac rehab, which is a program to get people back into exercising safely after they've had a heart attack, where it's monitored and they set up an exercise prescription and get you back to exercising safely.
All right, very good. Dr. Noelle Peterson from Eastern Cardiology. She's the Director of Preventive Cardiology and Women's Cardiovascular Disease at the East Carolina Heart Institute, which we're very fortunate to have here in Greenville. It is I was just in that facility again the other day, thankfully not as a patient, but for a meeting. And it is just, boy, we're getting it done with heart disease here in Eastern North Carolina. And of course, we need to have that kind of effort going on here because we're, they still call us the stroke belt, right?
Yep. Well, there's a lot of Bojangles and McDonald's and
and
barbecue. Yep.
All right. So now, last question for you: if someone is having symptoms, they may not know they're having symptoms. Tell us what symptoms, for men and for women, that should lead them to seek medical advice to say, you know what, I'm having this symptom or that symptom, and I need to go have this checked out. Because people tend to just ignore the symptoms, right?
And one of the common things people do is that they go to bed when they're having symptoms.
Yeah.
A lot of times people come in and they've been having indigestion or they think they have the flu, and they go to bed, and then they either don't wake up or they end up having a massive heart attack. So those are two, just don't write them off.
Right.
Shortness of breath is a common one. And then again, any kind of just discomfort in the chest, jaw pain, shoulder pain, arm pain are all common ones. If fatigue, we're pretty much overwhelming fatigue, like it takes too much effort to even lift my laptop up. Those should all be little red flags, that you need to go and get checked out.
Okay. It is Women's Heart Awareness Month, and again, we are very fortunate to have some of the top heart doctors in the world right here in Pitt County through the Brody School of Medicine, the East Carolina Heart Institute, Vidant Health, and organizations like your practice, Eastern Cardiology. So thank you very much for all you do, and thank you for coming in this morning.